What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with an updated Traptrix deck profile for the new format, and of course LEDE is right on the horizon as well. This is a deck I haven't updated in a while, but going through some of my older decks, trying to bring them up to speed with the current state of the game, Traptrix is one I really wanted to update because it is one of the decks I've played for the longest time. In fact, when I first came back to the game, Traptrix is what I played exclusively for like 4 months before I started delving into other decks. And it's a deck that I have a lot of history with, and I actually took to regional. And yeah, it's just a deck I overall really enjoy and wanted to bring an updated profile for. Before we get into this profile, I do want to let you guys know we are extremely close to 15,000 subscribers, so if you do enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! Content and you like what you see here, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and what I do here on the channel. If you're a fan of Traptrix, you're going to want to be subscribed for future Traptrix content. With all that being said, let's hop into this Traptrix deck profile. Alright, starting off with the Traptrix monsters, we have the 3 Traptrix Mermelio. Mermelio is still arguably like the best starter for the deck. It has some competition now, but Mermelio at least gets you 1-card combo. There's 2 1-card starters, I would say, and then others that require multiple Traptrix monsters, but they're all exceptional at starting the game. Mermelio's second effect is also extremely relevant, and one that seems to keep getting better with time because so many decks have like continuous spells and traps that are pretty imperative to their strategy. So in the current format, Mermelio sort of excels as a starter and as an interrupt, which is very useful. Then we have 3 Traptrix Mantis. I've seen some lists recently that are actually cutting this card down from 3, and I've played 2 in the past as well. Overall, I think 3 is probably the best number just because she's another one of your 1-card starters. Being able to grab Arachnocampa from the deck and then proc your Sarah instantly to get Holtea is not quite as strong as Mermelio, but still gets you where you want to go like most of the time. Although you do lock yourself into plants from the extra deck very early on, which can come up. But essentially because Mermelio and Mantis are just the most powerful starters, I've chosen to max both of them at 3. Mantis' second effect is a little less relevant than Mermelio's, but it can come up in certain situations, or at the very least just to proc Sarah. Then I am on 3 Pudica. Pudica is another very strong starter, but she is one that normally requires you to have an additional Traptrix monster, and that leads into some of your strongest 2-card combos. If you can like start with normal summon Pudica, search the field spell, make Sarah, and then normal summon another strong Traptrix like Mermelio or Mantis, you can get a lot farther, and that's where some of your best 2-card combos come from. Pudica also arguably has the best interrupt, like when you special summon her off of Traptrix Sarah. Being able to banish a monster and be a monster interrupt is very strong, and also there's ways to put her in grave to where she can be revived with Holtea and be a good interrupt through even like some of your opponent's strongest board breakers. So I really enjoy the 3 Pudica. She just makes some of your 2-card combos better and makes it to where if you open multiple Traptrix monsters, they're all going to see some sort of use. Then I have 2 Arachnocampa. Arachnocampa is very strong, but she's not like the best starter. All she does is like make Sarah, right? But she is like the only extender in the Traptrix engine that doesn't like require another card for the most part. Like Pudica, if she gets impermed, she's not going to be an extender because you're not getting field spell. Arachnocampa lets you just play into boards a little easier too. Just having an extender is nice. She also helps you play around things like Nightmare Phoenix, Lightning Storm, cards that blow up your back row. And when Ghost Ogre or like Gamma is relevant in a format, she can at least let you make Sarah even if you have an interrupt on your normal summon, which is also phenomenal. Lastly, for Traptrix monsters, I have the 2 Dionaya. Dionaya is one of the Traptrix monsters that works best with Pudica because if you can like get the field spell, link off the Pudica into Sarah, and then normal summon Dionaya, bring back the Pudica. It always feels really nice because that's just a rank 4 on top of your Sarah. Dionaya's effect to reset trap holes from your graveyard is also extremely relevant because you're discarding one with Holtea very often. And then if you special summon Dionaya user effect, you essentially got that card back for free. And that's really good for making sure your board actually has several interrupts that will do meaningful interruption to your opponent. For some additional engine, I'm on 3 Parallel Exceed. This card is really strong paired with any Traptrix monster because again, it's just a rank 4 on top of your Traptrix Sarah. There's a lot of stuff you can do with Parallel Exceed, especially nowadays where you can mold your deck to do almost anything with this card and get rank 4s. Like I know there are lines to some crazy boss monsters. There's some plays in here that you can do to just essentially run different extra deck packages. This list is on an extra deck package, but it's nothing, I'm not running anything crazy that requires a lot of bricks, but just know you can do a lot with Parallel Exceed. This list is just deciding to do more of the standard, more consistent stuff. But yeah, even just being able to make Traptrix Rafflesia is very strong with this card. And it's overall just a solid extender to play. And it's sort of a classic with Traptrix. It's been running Parallel Exceed for over 4 years now, so. Continuing with engine, I'm on 1 Traptrix Garden. I just run 1. I don't think, I've seen a lot of lists on 2, and I've seen lists on 2 even have success, but it's just like a weird ratio to me. I never want to see multiple of this card. I just kind of want to search it off Pudica. If Pudica gets like impermed and you hard drew the garden, it's like fine, but you're not like relying to draw it at 2. I don't know, like 2 is fine because you'll see it a little bit more and you still shouldn't see multiples. But I just would rather play like an additional card that does something, and hopefully I draw that instead of garden and I can still search the garden. I don't think 2 is wrong, but I also just never want to draw multiple of this. Maybe if I test the deck more, I've leaned into 2 garden before when I was testing and I was like, yeah, maybe 2 is okay. Right now I'm on 1, I just don't really like the addition of another one and potentially drawing it more often. So if you want to play 2, you can easily take out another card for it, but me, I'm currently on 1. 3, Traptrix Holtea. We're obviously maxing this card at 3 because this card plus any Traptrix with a discard is essentially the combo you want to see. This card also has an insane grave effect that gives the deck more follow-up and extra interrupts. It's the card Traptrix always wanted, right? Like it replaced Brigandine, but it's engine and searchable. So yeah, maxing 3 of this is pretty obvious. And then for the other trap holes, I'm playing it a little different than I have in the past. There's a trap hole I'm not running that people might be surprised I'm not running, but I just don't think it's very good this format. Starting off, I'm on 2 Gravedigger, which I am playing multiple of this one because I think it serves the best purpose, especially going first, making sure you don't lose to Nibiru, which is huge. It's still like a decent interrupt as well. It can hit things like Low in the graveyard. It can hit things like Flamberge in the graveyard, hit Poplar in the hand. It's not like the most amazing interrupt right now, but especially if I'm going first, I want to make sure I have one of these in deck for Nibiru, and it's still overall a really strong hand trap, or trap hole in general. Then I'm playing 1 Bottomless, which I'm actually playing this over Floodgate right now. I mean, I've had lists where I play both, so it's maybe not over the Floodgate trap hole, but I'm essentially not running Floodgate trap hole, but I am still running Bottomless. Bottomless is really good into the branded matchup because it stops Fallen of Albaz, which has always been a thing, but it's better. It has a lot of other cards it hits in the branded matchup as well, but Fallen of Albaz is the most notable. It's also pretty good versus Snake Eye, where something like Floodgate Trap Hole I don't think is good because they have so many things that can like send other cards to graveyard to get effects like Diabellstar, and of course the Wanteds that can access Diabellstar. Also hitting things like Flamberge and Princess with Bottomless Trap Hole feel pretty strong. I think it's actually a pretty solid interrupt right now into a lot of decks. It's not like the best card ever, and it definitely has matchups where it does almost nothing, like Voiceless Voice. But I also think Floodgate Trap Hole right now does almost nothing, so I kind of like Bottomless a little better. And then I think my favorite trap hole is the Terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare. This card's really strong. It just hits a lot. I mean, it hits almost everything. It's really good into multiple matchups. It doesn't need to be activated immediately, which is always nice. I would play 2 of this card, but I don't have space for another trap hole, and then it's like worse going second. There's cards you could take out if you really want to play like a 5th trap hole, and I would recommend a second one of this because that means you can activate 1 face down and send 1 off for Flasia, and that seems pretty strong. But yeah, these are the 4 extra trap holes I choose to play. I wish I could play others, but I think I want 2 Gravedigger, and I don't want to play too many trap holes. And this is a 40 card list, and I just don't know what else I would take out, to be honest. Heading into the non-engine, well, I guess this card is still potentially engine, but, you know. 3, Pot of Prosperity. This card just accesses almost any card in your deck, and you're a deck with a lot of 2-card combos, so having Prosperity is nice. You also have so many cards in your extra deck you don't really mind banishing, so it's just overall a really solid card. And it's been played in Traptrix for a very long time because, again, you have so many 2-card combos you would like to see, like Traptrix with Parallel, or, you know, Traptrix plus Holtea, and just make sure that you have all those more often. Then I'm playing a Called by the Grave. This card's very strong, just like in general this format. It also stops, I don't know, like Veiler, Mourner, all those really annoying cards that might hit Sarah. Of course, Ash Blossom's a big one you can hit as well, but just going into other decks' engine, this card's very strong, so the 1 Called by the Grave. For hand traps, I'm on 3 Ash Blossom. Pretty standard, not much to say here. 3 Infinite Impermanence, which is one of the best hand traps in Traptrix just because it is a normal trap, meaning you can discard it to activate Holtea, which is always extremely relevant. Which I really like that they did that. Brigandine always had the issue where this card had like negative synergy with Brigandine, but with Holtea it has positive synergy, which is great. And of course procs Sarah as well, so it feels like a hand trap and engine. 3 Nibiru, and I'm only running 9 hand traps, so these are all the hand traps. Nibiru, just one of the most high impact hand traps you can run. You could test around with Droll if you don't like Nibiru, but I think it's just overall fine. Like, nothing wrong with playing Nib. The only reason I mention that is like sometimes you have an established board that really stinks to get rid of, but overall Nib's extremely powerful this format. And then the last card is the 3 Evenly Matched. This is something that most Traptrix players just decide to main just because even if you draw it going first, you can discard it for Holtea and you kind of repurpose the card. But it's also a pretty high impact going second card, especially with less negates in the format, which kind of makes Evenly quite a bit stronger. It can really help Traptrix try and break boards going second, so Evenly's a pretty solid inclusion. Alright, that is it for the main deck. On to the extra deck, which there's a bunch of stuff you can do with the Traptrix extra deck. I feel like mine is a little bit more of a standard game plan, but there is an extra deck package that I will talk about once I get there. Starting off, I have 3 Traptrix Sarah. Please do not look at this one. I'm sorry. I apologize for the rarity. I used to only play 2 in most lists, but in current iterations of Traptrix, I feel like the third one is pretty necessary. You can go into multiples in a single turn, and you just do want like a backup Sarah as well. So I'm on 3 Traptrix Sarah. Eventually, I will get the other secret, but for now, it looks like this, unfortunately. 1 Aromatherapy Jasmine. This is essentially the extra deck package I'm playing, is being able to go into Jasmine lines. These mostly come up with Parallel Exceed and something that other people have done. Now, you can run Jasmine lines even more crazy than what I'm choosing to do if you want to run like Regulus plus the Disc Coliseum plus Lily Borea. That's something people have done in the past to get a negate. I just really don't like playing all those bricks. I mean, Lily Borea by herself isn't exactly a brick, but drawing Disc Coliseum or Regulus can feel pretty bad, especially if you get interrupted and you can't access where you need to go. You could also play that package while running something like Sargus, which is something people used to do. I'm only running the Jasmine, and I'm running a couple of other cards that go with her. But yeah, you essentially climb into this, tribute a monster with her effect and special plant from deck, and then you can access some pretty nifty extra deck cards and just extend a little further. It also can be good going second because we have the Atypus, which is like your main in-engine board breaker. You can climb into it pretty easy with Aromatherapy Jasmine, and this card does a lot of strong things going second. Just being able to negate cards, pop cards, give all your Traptrix monsters 1,000 attacks, which usually spells game. And the last link in the deck is 1 Alsa. This card gets rid of like annoying things like maybe Iblis and dinosaur tokens with the Traptrix monster. But also it's like really useful as an extender if your opponent is on cards like Kashtira Fenrir. So yeah, I'm just choosing to play the Alsa. For the Traptrix Xyz monsters, I am on the 1 Rafflesia and the 1 Pinguicula. I think one of each is fine. I don't think you need to play too many copies of either of them. I've seen people play double Rafflesia, and that's probably fine as well, but I only ever really go into 1. She is very strong, just being Nibiru protection, but also an interrupt on your opponent's turn and providing all Traptrix protection. She's always been very strong, and you're trying to go for her and Sarah first turn. Pinguicula gets you any Traptrix monster and also has a nifty interrupt effect, which can be good into certain matchups. She is a little more matchup dependent, but there are combo lines that you want to make her as well, especially if you're locked into plants. Sometimes you'll end up going into her. But yeah, just one of each. They come up in varying situations. I'm not on Alamaris, which is unfortunate because I have a Starlight rare, but I just couldn't find space for her. But if you really want her, you can definitely take out any one of these random cards and add in Alamaris. Some more rank 4 toolbox stuff. I have the Baguska and the Abyss Dweller. Very strong cards for different situations. This one's really good if you get sort of floodgated or you're playing against Branded, and Dweller's good versus the graveyard decks. 1 Redoer, just like historically one of the best boss monsters for Traptrix because you can very easily put a trap under him as a material. Back when Brigandine was popular, this guy was like my go-to, but now you do so many like different combos that you don't make him often, but he is an out to certain things because he is non-targeting removal that also doesn't destroy, so he does still come up, I think, and he can also potentially make the most large Zeus, just depending on how long he stays on the field. And then the cards that go with the Jasmine, I am running a Rika Queen Strenna and the Teardrop. Now, you could play other things in place of the Teardrop. You could run the Hyperiton, but I just think Teardrop's the best because it's stronger going second because you can just tribute things and remove stuff from the board. This essentially just provides an additional interrupt. Now, again, the issue I have with Hyperiton is you're not often activating a spell or a trap once he hits the board. Like, there are lines where you can, but it's much harder. But if Evenly is very, very popular in people's side decks, you can definitely shift to the Hyperiton and just try to open it to where you can activate Holtea after you summon him. And then maybe you can get a trap card and have a negate for Evenly matched, or you can even switch over to things like the packages that search for Regulus, so you have a negate for Evenly. But I'm choosing to play it like this for now. You can do a lot of things with this package. There's so many different packages you can play in Traptrix. I remember I used to play a Durandal line with Ptolemaeus. I think that is still viable, and it also is sort of protection against Evenly, so you can do a lot of things. And then I'm running 1 Zeus and 1 Typhon. These cards are just like very generic extra deck cards that you can go into depending on the situation. I'm just now realizing it, but I did not put SP in this extra deck, so I guess this is a budget extra deck. But if you do have SP Little Knight, you can play it over the Alsa. My SP is in a different deck somewhere. But yeah, just know if you have access to SP, you can definitely play it over the Alsa, I would recommend. And yeah, that's going to be it for this Traptrix deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave some comments down below on what you thought of the list, what could have been done better. How are you playing Traptrix? Because there are so many different ways you can run the extra deck and honestly the main deck to play some more crazy combo variants of the deck. You can even play it with Aroma, I've seen. So yeah, a lot of options. I just went for the more consistent, like, build that just tries to do one card combo stuff and end with a very consistent end board. But yeah, there's a lot you could do. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.